Welcome to the ChessMate-ink channel. So far, we've learned how the pieces move, the special rules, and what checkmate really means. In this lesson, we'll discover how to actually checkmate the opponent's king. In other words, how to win the game. The concept of checkmate is the core goal of chess, but knowing the definition is not enough. We must understand how to apply it on the board. That's why, in this lesson, we'll explore different examples of checkmate. Let's look at our first position. We have both kings on the board, and white also has an extra queen. Pay attention to the position of the queen. The queen is threatening the black king horizontally. That means it's a check. In this situation, black must make a move. But the king cannot move toward the queen because it's not adjacent and would still remain under threat. It also cannot move to the left since that square is controlled by the queen. The white king blocks the escape squares below. Since black has no other pieces, the check cannot be blocked. The king can't escape and can't capture the queen. Result, check and mate. This is one of the basic examples of checkmate. Now, let's slightly change the position. It's black's turn. Once again, the queen gives check. But this time, the black king can move diagonally down to escape the threat. So this is not checkmate. Here's what we need to understand. For a position to be a true checkmate, the king must have no escape squares and cannot capture the attacking piece. Let's move to the next position. It's white's turn. White is trying to checkmate the black king using the queen. Remember, a king can never threaten another king because a king checkmating a king is impossible. The two kings can never stand next to each other on the board. If the white queen moves one square up to give check, the black king has nowhere to go. It can't move down because the white king controls those squares. So the king cannot move. That's checkmate. This is one of the simplest examples of a checkmate with the queen and the king. In another example, the queen moves and gives check. The king cannot capture the queen because it's protected by its own king. It also has no safe square to move to. That's why this position is checkmate. Now let's look at this position. The queen checks again, but this time it's not mate, because the king can capture the attacking queen. Remember, if the king can capture the attacking piece, the move is not checkmate, but just a check. So always make sure your attacking piece is protected. Let's see another example. The white queen gives check, and the white rook protects the queen. The black king cannot capture the queen because it's defended. There's also no escape square. So in this position, the king is checkmated. Remember, if your piece is giving check up close, make sure another piece is protecting it. In the next example, the rook gives check. The king cannot capture the rook because the knight is defending it. The king can't move to the other side because that's also controlled by the knight. It can't move diagonally either because the rook controls that square. So this position is also checkmate. This is a typical checkmate pattern with the rook and the knight working together. In another example, the queen gives check and a pawn is protecting her. The black king has no moves. That's also a checkmate. Now let's look at a more interesting example. Here, the checkmate is delivered by pawns. Pawns move forward but attack diagonally. The white king is also controlling the escape squares of the black king, so there are no safe squares left. Result, check and mate. Another position. The queen moves diagonally, captures a pawn, and gives check. Can the king capture the queen? No, because the bishop protects the queen. With no escape squares available, it's checkmate once again. Now let's see another position. The white queen captures a black pawn and gives check. The black king can't capture the queen because the knight defends it. It can't move sideways because those squares are controlled by the queen. No other piece can capture the queen either. That means check and mate. Let's move on to the final examples. It's white's turn. We can see that the rook and bishop are active. Let's see how we can deliver checkmate with these pieces. A rook can give check when it's on the same rank or file as the king. White moves the rook and gives check. What can black do now? The king can't capture the rook. They're too far apart. It can't escape because all squares are controlled by the rook. The pawns block the path above. Can black block the check by interposing a piece? Yes, by moving the bishop forward. But then white captures the bishop with the rook and checks again. Now black has no move left. The king can't capture, can't block, and can't run. Result, check and mate. What if it were black's turn instead? The black rook could move onto the same rank and give check. The white king can't capture the rook. It can't escape. Every square is threatened. The only option is to block with a piece. But then the rook captures that piece and continues to give check. In that case, the white bishop moves diagonally and captures the rook, removing the threat. With no attacking piece left, it's no longer checkmate. So, we've seen some of the most common checkmate patterns in chess. These examples will help you recognize many positions you'll encounter in real games. In the next lessons, we'll reinforce these checkmate patterns with more advanced examples. Next time, we'll learn what a stalemate is and how a chess game can end in a draw. Don't forget to continue with the next video and subscribe to improve your chess skills. ChessMate-ink wishes you days full of chess.